So, hello everyone, my name's Andrew and I'm a councillor at Basildon Borough Council, and this is a bit on my experience of the mental health system, of mental health treatment and sort of recovery, which can be quite a controversial term sometimes. In the first sort of segment I talked about my experiences of, starting out of that mental health journey. So when I was admitted to hospital, what was the events that led up to that. Talked about what it was like being in hospital, what was it like being on medication, and also what it was like to be discharged from hospital and how I ended up what's becoming a revolving door patient. And I finished that video where I talked about I took a decision to try and end my own life. I sort of spoke about, for me, my feeling with that is that was actually the start of my journey. When I made that decision to end my own life, it was the most darkest thing I've ever experienced. It was terrifying. And if I could change, as I mentioned, anything about my journey, I would change that because I want to live. But actually, when I got to that position, I started to think about my life more, and I started to think about what was important in my life. And I had to take a step back and think, actually, Andrew, what have you got to give to the world? I think everyone needs something to give to the world. It's so, so important. And I was a very, very large young man. I had been discharged from an inpatient psychiatric unit with no qualifications to my name whatsoever. I was still occasionally sometimes paranoid and delusional. I still occasionally had some obsessive thoughts. I didn't really have a strong friendship network. My social network was extremely limited. What did I have to give to the world? What was my purpose for living? What was I good at? And then I come to realise, actually, you've got this wealth of experience of being in the mental health system, experience that some people spend their life studying. And actually, there's great power in sharing experience. There's great power in talking to people about what went on in your life and how it affected you and how things can be done differently. And I think when I started to embrace that, when I really started to allow myself to accept my journey, that is when my recovery really started. And don't get me wrong, recovery is quite a controversial term, but for me, recovery isn't about being fixed. I'm always going to have a mental health condition. In the back of my head, I'm always going to have to worry about becoming psychotic. Quite recently, I've had psychotic experiences, so sometimes I can still hear voices. Other times I can still, every day I think about ending my own life. It's just something, it's something that I'll have to live with. It's not something sometimes you can ever be fixed off. However, recovery to me isn't sorting all that out. It's about living my life to the content and fullest possible with or without my condition. That's what it means to me, and that's what recovery means to me. And that was my recovery journey. It's about, okay, I've got this stuff going on, but actually I want to make the most of my life because living's kind of nice. I don't want to lose that. So I started sharing my story. I started talking to people about my experiences. I started to frame my experiences in the social context they were in. And I found that so immensely rewarding, not only because it allowed me to process my story, which is really, really important, and make sense of it, but I actually started to make a difference. And I think what is really, really important in any sort of crisis, whether it's, a crisis of conscience, whether it's a crisis of mental health, whatever that may be, it's about having some hope. I think hope for me has become so important. Hope has become my anchor point. Hope that actually things won't be as bad. Not hope that things are going to be perfect or everything's going to be sunshine and roses, but hope that things might not be as bad. One of my biggest achievements to date has been so when I was bullied at school, I experienced bullying at school, and when I was depressed, I had a very, very low self-opinion of myself. I thought I was some ugly, fat, useless cretin. And I really bullied myself for that. I really I was an absolute cruel person to myself because of that. But actually, as I started to come out into the world, started experiencing the world, I got to the point where I was able to accept, I'm not that bad. I'm not George Clooney, but I'm not Hunchback of Notre Dame either. And getting to that point was a huge achievement for me. And it's the little things, doing the volunteering, giving something back to my community was so, so powerful. And by doing the little things and by celebrating the little things and the little achievements, like being able to leave my house without checking the doors locked, like being able to smile. I remember the first time I was just walking down the street. It was really weird. But for so long, I hadn't just been able to sit there and feel happy and feel content. And I just looked up at the sky. It was a beautiful sunshiny day, and I just looked up and I think, you know what? Life isn't that bad. I still had lots of stuff going on. I was still unwell, but life isn't that bad. And as I mentioned earlier, so I started coming out into the world. I really started making roads onto that journey of recovery, which I will never be off of. I'll always be on that journey. But through sharing my experience and through telling my story, that's what makes all the difference. I sometimes come back and I sometimes think about my journey and sharing my experiences, and I think about the what ifs. You know, I play that what if game. And I think about, you know, going back to my early childhood. What if in school someone was there to actually talk to me? What if in school I had a mentor or a buddy who I could sit with and talk about some of the things that I was experiencing as a young person? What if in school I had someone to really talk to about the bullying that I experienced? What if at school I had someone that would really just listen to me and be supportive of me and help me with my anxieties? What difference would that have made? You know, going on through my journey when my mum was, you know, trying to look after me, what if she was able to access some support in a timely manner? What if at that point in my life where I had that psychotic breakdown and I tried to jump out, well, I did jump out the window and vaulted over my fence, what if my mum could actually have got a specialist mental health nurse, doctor, or child mental health professional to come out and see me, to talk to me? What would have happened then? What if when I was in hospital, instead of, you know, injecting me with medication and keeping me sedated, which was important, but what if instead of confining me into a hospital, I was actually reintegrated back into my community? What if there was an intensive package put around me where I was able to be supported into employment, where I was able to be supported to develop my social networks? What if when I turned 18, I didn't lose all of my services, because suddenly overnight when you turn 18 you become an adult and expected to fend for yourself? What if I had some support through that transition period? What if when I was in adult services and I started becoming a revolving door patient, you know, when I was being picked up by the police and sent to Basel and sent to hospital? What if people actually believed what was going on for me? What if people actually took the time to listen to me, treat me with kindness and compassion, instead of just seeing me as another pain in the backside, judging me as some sort of inconvenience, and then sending me back out into the community? What if when I was at that point of resignation, there was someone I could call who would just come out and have a cup of tea and tell me everything's all right? I sit and I run through those what if questions sometimes, and I sit and ponder what would happen. I might not be where I am today. I might not be here talking to you. I might not be a local councillor, but I might have not gone through as much pain. And that's something I will forever be reflective of. But I think, for me, the most important thing is to be mindful of living in the present. So yeah, I can ask all these what if questions, and yeah, they're definitely learning for society, but I'm here and I'm now. I'm going to take each day as it comes, and if I can just have one smile in one given day, then quite frankly, it's all been worth it.